right, hey everybody, I'm Brian. I'm an addiction psychiatrist, and I'm here to talk today about how we talk with people who use tobacco products about how people use tobacco products. That is to say, this is conversations about changing smoking. I don't have any financial conflicts of interest. I'm not going to try to sell you any particular, products. That said, I am the president-elect of the American Society of Addiction Medicine, which does do a motivational interviewing course and has national practice guidelines, and I will probably be biased in that direction. It's not a financial conflict, but it is a conflict of interest. Here are the educational objectives that I'm planning on uncovering today. I'm not going to read them to you, but you can reference them in your slides. And first question, what do you already know about the technique of motivational interviewing, if anything? And you can unmute and speak, chat it in. This is not rhetorical. I'm actually genuinely curious. What do you already know about motivational interviewing?
Open-ended questions?
Yeah, open-ended questions are part of it. Anything else? Thank you, Chris.
Roll with resistance.
Yeah, classic line from Motivational Interviewing 2. In Motivational Interviewing 3, the 3rd edition, Miller and Rolnick called it dancing with discord. But rolling with resistance, that seemed to really really stick. Change talk, yes. Change talk is a particular focus of motivational interviewing. And in fact, what makes motivational interviewing different than other communication styles is the particular attention to change talk. Meeting people where they are. Yep. Dance, don't wrestle. That's the truth, isn't it? And all right. What do you want to know about motivational interviewing? What do you wish you knew about it?
When is it not appropriate?
Yeah, when does it not work? Okay. Anything else? How to be more effective with resistant clients. I've stopped using the word like resistance, but with maybe people who aren't ready. And I'm going to answer a question that you haven't posed to me right now. Yeah, ambivalent. That's right. With people who are ambivalent. That's exactly where motivational interviewing shines, is with people who are ambivalent and how to help people with resolving that ambivalence. Hey, I just put in the chat a link to this slide deck. So one question I always get, will I get a copy of the slides? Yes, we get a copy of the slides. The link is in the slide deck. Let me know if you have any issues accessing it. All right. How to speak with people who are not patients. Yeah. I use motivational interviewing with my husband all the time. People use it with their kids, right? Like reflective listening, open-ended questions. There is a clinical component, but it is not a purely clinical intervention. How to motivate an individual to take action or achieve a goal. Or maybe Cynthia, how to identify when somebody is ready or considering or close to taking action, how to support somebody in taking their goal. The truth is, it doesn't matter. If we have an intention for somebody, we can't make anyone want to do anything, but we can use motivational interviewing to survey someone's ideas, values, and intentions and capitalize on any readiness that they have to make a change. So if somebody loves smoking cigarettes, they love everything about it. They love the cancer, they love the cost, they love the heart disease, they love the shortness of breath. If somebody's all in, I may not be able to get them to not smoke, right? That just may not be something that they're ready to do. And then Summer says how to do it better. All right. Anything else that we want to cover during the time we have today? I've asked what do you know? I've asked what do you want to know? And anything else you want to cover? So what do we know about motivational interviewing across cultures? Okay.
Is there any curriculum you have for smoking cessation or ASAM or MI smoking cessation?
Okay, so you're looking for some curricular resources. Okay, got it. Anything else? All right. So what I'd like everyone to do, those of you who are able, wherever you are, to stand up. So if you're currently seated, please stand up. And if you're already standing like myself, keep standing. Okay. Thank you for standing up. What I'd like you to do now is to cross your arms and look down. See which arm have you crossed that's on the top, what arm you crossed that's on the bottom. So this arm is on the top, this arm is on the bottom, right? Now I'd like you to do something somewhat difficult. I'd like you to take the arm that is on the top and put it on the bottom, and take the arm that was on the bottom and put it on the top. Cross your arms the other way, not the way you did it initially, but the other way. Okay. And I just want you to sit with this feeling, right? The feeling of your arms crossed the other way. So just sit with this for a moment. I'm going to ask you a question. After I ask you a question, what I'd like you to do is think about it and then answer the question. And you can, so sit with this. I'm going to ask you a question. After I've asked the question, you can uncross your arms. At that point, the exercise is over. You can uncross your arms and answer the question. Okay, so my question is, on a scale from 1 to 10, where 1 is low and 10 is high, how motivated are you to, each time you might cross your arms in the future, cross your arms this other way? Not the way you had it not the way you had it initially, but this other way that you had it. 1 to 10, how motivated are you to cross your arms the way you usually don't? Okay, 0, 3, 1, 2, 0, 0. Okay, got it. So what I'm getting, I think the modal response is somewhere around 0, right? Like the average is probably somewhere between 1 and 2. So we're going to call that low. We're going to say that's low on the motivation scale. So I asked you, can you cross your arms the other way? I said, then how motivated are you to do that from this point forward? And you said, and not that motivated. So let me, oh, Sophia, thank you for being an outlier. Let me encourage you to open your mind here. I encourage you to exercise some flexibility. I actually think if you cross your arms the other way, it will be better for you. In fact, what if I offered you $100? You committed to me that you're going to cross your arms the other way. I'm going to employ a recovery incentive. I'm going to employ a $100 for you to cross your arms the other way. On a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being not at all, 10 being maximal. How motivated are you to cross your arms the other way this point forward? Cynthia says, I'm all in. 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 9, 5, 10, 10, 7. Okay, so 10 but not the rest of my life. Oh, there's all these contingencies now, Kelly. 8, 10, 7. Okay, so we're just going to say the motivation increased, right? We started low and it would increase. And it just so happens, in addition to being a psychiatrist, I have a doctorate degree in hand crossing. I am an expert in hand crossing, and I can tell you all about how to do this, right? So let me demonstrate to you my clinical experience, what we're going to do, because we started it low. I told you and gave you reasons why you should cross your arms moving forward, and I've now convinced you of my extraordinary expertise in hand crossing. What we're going to do is we'll get together, and I'm going to take thumbtacks and I'm going to super glue them to your elbow. And what that's going to do is, if you try to cross your arms the usual way, it's going to give you a reminder that, oh yeah, I shouldn't cross my arms the way I usually do. I should cross them the other way, right? So just to recap, talked about crossing arms, giving you reason to do it, and I'm telling you how you should cross your arms the other way. On a scale from 1 to 10, how motivated are you to follow through on this plan? 0, 3, 2, 2, 0, 0, 0. Okay, hold on, I'm confused, because when we started out, you had low motivation, but then I gave you reasons to do it, and your motivation was higher. And then I told you how to do it, and now your motivation is lower. Why? Why is your motivation lower now? This is really important. I went through the benefits. There's no thinking, right? Like the reminder item on your elbow, it doesn't require any real effort on your part. I mean, I'll just put the thumbtack there, but that's not that much effort. It's easy. I told you how to do it. If you don't do it, you'll be stiff. Question. What did it feel like as listeners for me to talk to you about crossing your arms? And I already have some comments on this. Kelly says, I don't want you telling me what to do. Summer says, I don't like the options. Kelly says, it's authoritative. I don't like that. Edwina says, you're forcing me. But what else did it feel like when I was talking to you? Yeah, it felt patronizing, right? Or this is the word that is escaping me right now, but where somebody's in an expert role and Charity says, I don't want to be treated like that. I'm not a kid. Jan says, I don't want the pain. Like, you didn't even factor my experience into this. And Deidre says, expert, end quote. Summer says that I valued my opinion over your opinion, right? In the expert role. And it's interesting, the expert role, condescending, yeah, that's great, Ethan. That's what it felt like. So one of the point I'm making here is, how often in behavioral health settings do we have somebody that might be drinking too much or using methamphetamine or overdosing on fentanyl, and we say, stop doing that and go to treatment. I'm the expert, you're not. Sit down, shut up, take the cotton out of your ears, put it in your mouth, and I know what's best for you, without actually taking the time to understand the perspective, the values, the ideas, the intentions of the person that we're talking to. So I'd like to do an active listening exercise. Actually, you know what? We're going to skip the active listening exercise. What I'd like to do is find a volunteer. I'd like a volunteer that has somebody, with somebody that has something you want to change, need to change, should or ought to change, but thinking about changing in your life, but you haven't changed yet. So tell me, who has something you want to change, need or ought to change, shouldn't change yet, and that you are comfortable talking with me about on camera in front of this group.
It looks like Charity, Rose.
All right, Charity. Are you able to turn your camera on? No camera. Okay, we will do this audio only. Can you unmute yourself?
Yes.
All right. So Charity, I understand there's something that you're thinking about changing but haven't actually changed in your life yet.
Yes. And that is trying to go full organic.
You want to go full organic.
Yes.
Why would you want to make that change?
Just seeing everything that's being put in our food these days, it just grosses me out.
What are the 3 best reasons to do it?
Health,
Mm-hmm.
health, and health.
The 3 best reasons to do it are health, health, and health. Got it.
Yeah. Yes.
On a scale of 0 to 10, 0 being not at all, 10 being maximal, how important would you say it is for you to make this change? Go full organic.
I would say importance is an 8.
It's an 8 out of 10. Now, why is it an 8 and not a 5?
Because I'm going through with sugar withdrawal.
Mm-hmm. Not having sugar is tough.
Yes.
How would you go about doing it?
Slowly but surely, not using the sugars. I make my tea plain with no sugar. Just trying to watch what I eat as far as anything with sugar. Even the carbohydrates and stuff like that I've been putting in, it's reducing my sugars. So little by little, I'm getting there.
So Charity, you want to go full organic.
Yes.
What gets put in your food grosses you out, And your health
Yes.
and your health and your health are the three biggest reasons to do it. You've already
Yes.
started making some changes. For example, you've taken sugar out of your tea, and you're looking to eliminate sugar from other elements of your diet, and slowly but surely you're starting to do that elimination.
Yes.
Charity, what do you think you're going to do next?
Let's see. Well, I switched my cereals too. And just, I even have to watch the fruit. I love bananas, and I don't know if that considers like sugars or if it's just, those are regular good sugars, but things like that, I've been just really conscious about changing. Also being a good influence to my daughter, so she sees that we're making the change together. It's not just her, because she felt like she was being punished. So that's kind of what I've been doing in this, you know, trying to change as far as active in my change in my road to organic.
So you are maintaining mindfulness over the variety of things you're eating. You're looking for clarity on the sugar content of fruits and whether or not that should or shouldn't be in your diet. And you're serving as an example for your daughter.
Yes.
Charity, thank you for participating in this active listening exercise. Everyone
No
give Charity
problem.
another applause. Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right. Charity, you're not quite done yet. Charity, what did it feel like when I was talking to you?
It just felt like I was in a counseling session.
Do you felt
That you,
listened to?
that you were probing into seeing like what was really my interest.
That it took time to evoke your interest.
Yes,
Who did most of the talking?
I did.
And did you feel patronized?
No, I didn't.
Did you feel like I was telling you what to do?
Absolutely not.
And what do you think you're going to do next? I mean, you mentioned maintain mindfulness. Do you feel like this shifted your readiness at all to go full organic?
I feel like you motivated me a little bit more.
Yeah, you feel more motivated, right? So thank you, Charity, for participating. So here's a question.
No problem. Thank you.
Not just for you, Charity. When you're talking to somebody, say about smoking, would you rather have a client or a patient or a person feel defensive, feel patronized, feel like, you know, somebody's trying to tell them what to do and pushed around? Or do you feel, would you rather the person you're talking to feel heard and with more motivation in a healthful direction? Which person would you rather be looking at? Person A that feels pushed around, or person B that feels heard? Charity says the person that feels supported. Yeah, the person feels heard. Obviously, right? Like, that's sort of a rhetorical question, right? Person feels heard. We have extraordinary influence on that. Right? As clinicians, we have an extraordinary influence on the kind of person, you know, are we going to get the patient that doesn't want to hear us or not? So how do we do that? So motivation at its core is about arranging conversations so that people talk themselves into change. If I, as the practitioner, am doing most of the talking, it's not happening right. That also means that I'm setting the circumstances where the person is talking themselves into change. I can't motivate anybody, but what I can do is structure a conversation where I'm maximizing the chances, where I'm going to learn about somebody's ideas, values, and intentions. There's a quick video on this, but I'm going to have to, unfortunately, unshare and reshare because I did not share my screen correctly earlier. So I'm going to do that now. All right. Back to where we were. Quick video on the origins of motivational eating.
Denial and resistance in people, if you think about that I went through, is not a property of the pathology of the individual, okay, but says something about the relationship. My 15-year-old lies to me consistently, but not to his best friend. Do you see the point? Yeah, okay, so, but you know what I'm saying. You've got to be very careful. And what Miller and I shared then and now is that if you shift your style, this is the basic observation, the motivation to change improves in front of your eyes. And that shift in style is not just a technical matter, it's your attitude towards this person. And so associated with that style shift is a whole lot of things that you saw in Conversation B, which we'll have a look at in a moment, again. But I think which can be captured by this. Try not to judge, try not to blame, try not to label the person. Try and be respectful, reflective, as your colleagues have said. And the motivation to change can come from within them. They have the energy and the motivation and the good sense to change inside them, and much of the capacity and skills to make change happen if you give them the space to do that. And that's a very different approach to what I saw in that addiction treatment unit, and Miller had noticed in addiction treatment settings in the United States, where his stories were the equivalent of mine. I mean, there were some stories that he told me and still tells me that truly make me shocked.
Why do people change? Change is natural. It happens all the time. It's interesting, actually, most people with substance use disorders, if they don't overdose and die in the midst of their addiction, actually do transition out of having a substance use disorder. Even in the absence of treatment, it's sort of a not commonly discussed epidemiologic phenomenon. The key is getting people through, right? And there are certainly people that we treat here in LA County that are not going to naturally achieve remission, right? They need treatment in order to get through. The key is exploring ambivalence, right? Oftentimes we think, this person smoking, they shouldn't be smoking. Let me tell them why they shouldn't smoke. And we end up doing all the work. We end up doing what about the cancer and the this, and we got patches and we got gum, and coming up with all these ideas. And it's a little bit like putting a thumbtack on an elbow. It's obvious to me, this is what you need. But if I can't bring the person along, if I'm not exploring their ideas and values and intentions, I'm going to miss an opportunity. But this also means no longer calling people unmotivated or pre-contemplative, which I've stopped using. I've stopped using stages of change labels, not because people don't change, but because it's just another way of labeling people. So rather than saying this person is unmotivated, I would say, someone's motivated for something. For what is this person motivated? What does this person want? Now, I asked you earlier, what do you know about motivational interviewing? And you mentioned change talk. Change talk is essentially like a self-motivating behavior or self-motivating statement. It's the opposite of sustained talk. So I can change, I want to change, I should or ought to change. That's change talk. I can't change, I don't want to change is sustained talk. In motivational interviewing, we pay particular attention to when somebody says something about what they want to do. Now, there are a range of styles, right? There's very directive styles and following styles. Motivational interviewing is actually a guiding style, right? It's like a dance. The person says, I'm tired of people going on and on about smoking. Don't they know that this is the only thing that helps? And I might pivot to say, you wish people understood how difficult things are for you. And it invites that person to say, yeah, there's this and there's this and there's that. And then I might reflect, yeah, you're looking for a way to feel better. Well, yeah, smoking is the only thing that helps. I might say, well, yeah, and one of the things you're considering is a way of feeling better even without smoking. They didn't say that. And I'm not even asking it as a question. I'm making it as a statement or as a reflective statement. That encourages the person kind of in the direction of change. It's sort of like a dance. Where it says, no, I'm not going to stop smoking. I say, I got it wrong. Okay, just do a reflection back. Okay, so the spirit of motivational interviewing is compassion, acceptance, partnership, and evocation. Compassion being, prioritizing somebody's well-being. Acceptance being, I understand that somebody's going to smoke or not smoke, they have autonomy, right? I have to accept that. My role is as a partner, and ideally I'm doing this to evoke somebody's readiness. the other way to think about it is like motivational interviewing is a dance. If I feel like you need to quit smoking, no, I'm not ready, but it's good for you, I don't care, right? If it's a feeling like wrestling, I'm doing it wrong, right? Motivational interviewing, ideally, in a good motivation interview, it feels like a dance. I'm the guide, I'm actually leading, but it's the follower that's actually doing most of the talking. That's how you do good motivational interviewing. One challenge here is it's hard to do this if you're not in the spirit. And I sort of mentioned earlier the compassion, the acceptance, the partnership, and evocation. So we have a quick video on empathy that I think goes through some of the spirit of motivational interviewing. So some of you may have seen this before, but I'll go ahead and show it again.
So what is empathy, and why is it very different than sympathy? Empathy fuels connection. Sympathy drives disconnection. Empathy, it's very interesting. Teresa Wiseman is a nursing scholar who studied professions, very diverse professions where empathy is relevant, and came up with 4 qualities of empathy. Perspective taking, the ability to take the perspective of another person or recognize their perspective as their truth. Staying out of judgment, not easy when you enjoy it as much as most of us do. Recognizing emotion in other people and then communicating that. Empathy is feeling with people. And to me, I always think of empathy as this kind of sacred space when someone's kind of in a deep hole and they shout out from the bottom and they say, I'm stuck, it's dark, I'm overwhelmed. And then we look and we say, hey, climb down. I know what it's like down here, and you're not alone. Sympathy is, ooh, it's bad, no, you want a sandwich? Empathy is a choice, and it's a vulnerable choice, because in order to connect with you, I have to connect with something in myself that knows that feeling. Rarely, if ever, does an empathic response begin with at least. Yeah. And we do it all the time. Because you know what? Someone just shared something with us that's incredibly painful, and we're trying to silver lining it. I don't think that's a verb, but I'm using it as one. We're trying to put the silver lining around it. So, I had a miscarriage. Oh, at least you know you can get pregnant. I think my marriage is falling apart. At least you have a marriage. John's getting kicked out of school. At least Sarah is an A student. But one of the things we do sometimes in the face of very difficult conversations is we try to make things better. If I share something with you that's very difficult, I'd rather you say, I don't even know what to say right now, I'm just so glad you told me. Because the truth is, rarely can a response make something better. What makes something better is connection.
Any of you seen that video? No? Well, I'm glad I was able to share it with you. My slides any clearer now? All right, good. I'm glad it's clear. So the link is in the handout. So let me go ahead and put the handout has the link to the slide. Okay. So motivational interviewing has 4 processes. It's engaging, focusing, evoking, and then planning. And many people in helping professions.
Dr. Hurley, they're a little garbled again.
Okay, so I won't use slides. So the 4 processes of motivational interviewing are engaging, focusing, and evoking, and planning. So in the engagement phase, it's are we walking together, right? Are we engaged? Then it's, are we focused, right? Like, what are the things we want to talk about? Smoking might be on my agenda, but it might, it might be on my agenda. It might not be on yours. So if somebody says, I am not going to talk to you about smoking, part of the spirit is acceptance. Okay. I understand that you don't want to talk about smoking, and I'm here for you when you're ready to talk about it. Once we do have a shared area of focus, then evoking, why are we going there, right? What are the ideas, the values, the intentions that somebody has? then get to planning. And it's different than the, let me complete my full assessment and then develop a plan of care, right? There's this entire middle ground of, is this person even talking to me? I used to see patients in the LA County Jail, and in the LA County Jail, there were people that wouldn't talk to me. It's just like they were that's just not like, they were just not going to talk, and they, no one has to talk. And so factors outside of the exam room seem to make a difference about whether somebody was going to talk or not, right? Like, it doesn't matter how skilled I am at motivational interviewing. Now this implies though that motivation interviewing is a following style. I have to get on somebody else's page, and it's not exactly following. Like, I'm not just gonna talk about whatever somebody wants to talk about. Like, I have an agenda. My agenda is important. But one question that I'm oftentimes asked is, how do I give information and advice? And you give information and advice with permission. So I have some ideas. Is it okay if I share my ideas? The reason I ask is it primes the person to, it primes the person to respond. Like, the person says, yes, I want your ideas, I want your advice. Now the person's going to internalize what I say. Then I give a limited amount of clear information, and then I say, what do you think you're going to do? Or I could say, what do you already know? Use that as a chance to get the person to talk in the topic that we can both agree is of interest. Then offer any other input that I might offer, and then do a teach back. So I might say, what do you already know about treatments for smoking? And somebody might say, well, there's a California Smokers Helpline, there's nicotine replacement therapy, there's bupropion, and there's varenicline. That saves me a lot of time with going over that. And I say, okay, what has been your experience with these things? And I open-ended question. What's been your experience with these things? And they'll sort of say, well, I don't really have time for the helpline. I don't really make use of it. I've actually done well on the meds before, but I got cut off. I lost my insurance, so I couldn't get access to them. So now I might focus my comments on, well, the meds were helpful before. Here are some medication options and some places you can go to get some help. But what do you think you're going to do? Or I might say, just so I was clear, can you tell me what I just told you? And now the patient or the client or the person I'm working with is now going to say the words that their understanding of the words that I said. And they're much more likely to remember that than anything that I'm, saying. The skills of motivational interviewing are standard counseling skills: open-ended questions, affirmations, reflections, and summaries. Open-ended questions are they're open-ended. They can't be answered with a one-word response like yes or no. Affirmations are a particular type of reflections. They are you statements, and they're you statements that reflect somebody's underlying kind of value or worth. So if a patient is yelling at me, I might tell the patient, yeah, you tell it like it is, right? That would be an affirmation. If somebody shows up to an appointment, you follow through on your commitments. It's different than like, I like what you're wearing today. It's right. It's not praise. It's not surface. It speaks to somebody's underlying value. And then when I'm in a conversation and listening for change talk, I can do a simple reflection. So if somebody says, I really need to quit smoking, I could say, you really need to quit smoking. It's a reflection. Simple reflection, I'm just saying their words back to them. You can't keep doing simple reflections throughout an interview. It doesn't work. So if someone says, I need to quit smoking, yes, you need to quit. And I might say, you need to quit smoking. They're like, yeah, it's just so hard. And then they say, yes. And then I might say, yes, it's just so hard. At a certain point, it's going to drive them nuts. You can't just keep using simple reflections, but you can use complex reflections. So complex reflections, if you think of simple reflections as being the surface of an iceberg, complex reflections are what's underneath the iceberg. That's somebody's underlying beliefs, their values, their intentions, and I'm making a hypothesis as to what's underneath there. So if someone's like, I really wish I could quit smoking, it's just so hard. A complex reflection would be, you're really trying to figure out a solution that'll work for you. It's a statement, not a question. I didn't ask, do you want a solution that will work for you? I'm making a statement. You're really looking for a solution that will work for you. But it moves the conversation forward. It's a reflection, but it's making a guess about what might be true, which is that they're looking for something that will work. They didn't say that. What they said is, I need to quit smoking, but it's so hard, which is more of a static statement. You're looking for a solution that will work is it's sort of a motivating statement, and invites them to step in that direction. They could say, yeah, that'd be great. And now I'm into, do I ask permission to give information and advice? Versus, no, I'm not ready to quit smoking. I'm going to say, I got it wrong. Right? Reflect, I got it wrong. You're not, this is not a priority for you right now. Just reflect that back. And now, because I don't want to threaten engagement. Like if we're not engaged, we can't do anything else. So I don't want to let somebody be like, no, you're crazy, you don't understand. I might just back up. Okay, I got it wrong. And then recenter my reflections based on where somebody is. Summaries are where I'm now listening for all of the change doc and presenting it back. So somebody says something like, I can't imagine my life without cigarettes. Cigarettes are so helpful for anxiety relief, and it occupies my hands. I can't imagine my life without it. But on the other hand, I know that it, makes my health worse, and my grandkids don't like coming over because of the smell, and it makes my teeth yellow, and I can't walk up the stairs as fast anymore. I might say, as a summary, cigarettes have been part of your life for so long, it's hard to imagine without it, but you can't keep smoking because it's affecting your health, it's affecting your grandkids, and you just can't keep living this way, right? It's summarizing back in the direction of positive change. Just as a quick note, right? People are so much better persuaded by the reasons that they have themselves discovered than would have come into the minds of others, right? There's this idea that, if I just say the right thing, if I ask the right question or give the right information, it's going to make somebody shift. And the truth is, I've rethought that too. What is the right reflection, not question or information? What's the right reflection I can offer in the moment that gets somebody to make that statement themselves, that bulb, that aha moment in their lives? And how do I know that? I'm listening for change talk. I'm listening for a desire to change, somebody saying that they could change, or an ability to change, reasons to change, that they need to change. And I know they're close to changing when they start to give me commitment language. I've started to, I'm going to, I've committed to, I made that appointment. I called the California Smokers Helpline, where, like activating statements. Again, I don't use prochasta di clemente, pre-contemplation, contemplation, preparation, action, not because it's not valid. Those are labels, and I don't think labeling patients is all that helpful. But I do think recognizing that patients are in various phases of changes are really important. And darn is preparatory, right? Is sort of, or I call it contemplation and preparatory. And CATS is like into the preparation action part of prochasta di clemente. That's like the motivation of interviewing Hill in a nutshell. How do you get change doc? Ask evocative questions. How would you make this change? What are the 3 best reasons to do it? How might you go about it to be successful? You heard me do this up front during our active listening session, right? You can ask evocative questions. You can use the readiness ruler. And I actually went through this before. So Christine is asking me to restart my slides. I can restart my slides, but they were blurry. So is it better for me to have blurry slides or no slides? I'll let people comment, but I'm going to continue without slides until a plurality of people indicate otherwise. So, and my slides are in the link. So if you do want to follow along with the slides, I'll go ahead and put the link in the chat one more time. Okay. So, the importance ruler says on a scale of 0 to 10, how important would you say it is for you to make this change? And then on a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is low and 10 is high. And then they give you a number. And so if you remember during our demonstration, the number was 8. It's 8 out of 10 important. I then say, okay, why was it an 8? And I pick a lower number. Why was it an 8 and not a 5? Because the next thing that somebody says is why it's important to them. And that's where I want them to be. I want to know why it's important to somebody. That's change talk. I'm not like, hey, why is it an 8 and not a 10? Because then I'd get, it's so hard, I like sugar, right? Like then I'll get sustained talk. I don't want to, I mean, you'll get both, but I'm not looking to evoke sustained talk. I'm looking to evoke change talk. So the readiness ruler, scale of 1 to 10, I give you a number. Why is it that number and not a lower number? Gives you change talk. But in knowing how confident, or knowing how important it is for somebody is not enough. I actually need to know, can they make this change? And the confidence ruler gets me there. So there's the importance ruler, but then there's the confidence ruler. How confident are you can make this change? And this is where a lot of people with tobacco use disorder, oh gosh, doc, I don't know that I can. I don't know if I can make this change. I don't know if I can quit smoking. It's so hard. How confident are you? I'm a 3. So I'll say, okay, you're a 3. Why is it a 3 and not a, or what would it take for you to get from a 3 to a 6? I'm not like, why are you 3 and not a 6? Because it's hard. But if I say, what would it take for you to get from a 3 to a 6? People will then actually say, oh, well, you know, maybe if I wasn't in withdrawal, maybe if I had somebody to talk to who's been through it, maybe if and people will start to get to planning. And when that's what I'm really listening for, is like, what is somebody thinking would help? They're not committed to it yet, but those are all things that I'm logging in my head to potentially reflect back. If you had a med to keep you out of withdrawal and somebody to talk to help you through the process of cutting down and eliminating your smoking, that would help. That's a reflection, but it like portends a plan and how we can potentially get into planning. Any questions about reflective listening or the technique of motivational interviewing? Reflections. Patients have said, I like the way you put that. And I often follow up with, you express why this is important to you. Is it motivational interviewing to mention that we are reflecting their statements? I don't typically, in the course of a motivational interview, spend a lot of time talking about the technique. I spend a lot of time doing the technique. So I don't say, I'm going to issue a reflection. And my reflection is, you express, you know, like I don't say that. I just issue my reflection. So one question that came up was, is motivational interviewing effective across cultures? Yes. Motivational interviewing is based on broad, generalizable principles of human behavior. It is consistent with cultural humility. It's consistent with culturally responsive care. It's certainly consistent with trauma-informed care, where, you know, we invite people to talk about themselves rather than like coming in with questions like an interrogation. And actually, there's increased effect sizes with predominantly minoritized populations. So there's a lot of evidence on motivational interviewing in Native American populations, in monolingual Spanish-speaking populations, in Asian American populations. And there's an article by Hetema, Steele, and Miller, Miller being one of the authors, that actually goes through some of this. So I'll just go ahead and put the reference. It's on slide 78. So if you pull the slide 78, you'll find the like motivational interviewing across cultures slide. And just as a couple words, like, we as clinicians oftentimes feel pushed to fix people, and that's called the riding reflex, right? We see something wrong, we say it. Somebody uses methamphetamine, stop using methamphetamine. We see somebody smoking, stop smoking. And what that does is it invites people to defend themselves. It invites people to say, I like smoking. It's the only thing that helps me. Don't you know how important methamphetamine is? This is the only way I can stay awake. Staying awake is important for my safety. And not only can it oftentimes be a waste of time, right? It can be a waste of time to sort of go on and on in an area where somebody is, not ready to make a change, right? Because that happens all the time. We say things, goes, what do you say, in one ear, out the other, we say that. So rather than doing that, I'm ideally trying to set up where the patient is the one making self-motivating statements. Because if a patient is spending their time defending the status quo, they're more likely to remember that. So not only is it deeply counterproductive to argue with people because they're not going to change, it can actually reinforce their position because they're going to give voice to sustained talk. And the more sustained talk we get, the less likely it is that somebody's going to change. The more change talk we get, the more likely it is somebody's going to change. But the more more change talk we get, the better. The more sustained talk, not. And then I found my handout, so I'm going to go ahead and put the link. Sorry, let me fix the link. I didn't put it in quite right. There we go. The second one. That's the Brene Brown link. So if anyone wants to find it, or you can just Google it. But that's the Brene Brown video, and it's on slide 30. We have a few minutes left. What questions do you have about conversations about change? And just one other thing, like, don't skip engagement. Like, attend to, is this person talking to me? Are they not? Disengagement can actually take a number of different formats, like somebody's just coming and lying. Like, by lying, I mean just saying things that completely are not true. That's a form of disengagement. Somebody that won't talk to you is a form of disengagement. So it's not purely just avoidance. Like, there's lots of ways that people disengage, but just attend to that, because without being really engaged, coming up with planning it becomes much more challenging. if we can't have change talk for the participant, should we say that they're not ready? Bernardo, might I suggest, if I'm not getting change talk from patients, what I'd say is, what are they there for? Right? The question I would ask is, like, what does this person want? Rather than saying, well, this person isn't ready, which is based on like, ready for what? Like, what is this person interested in? Would be, I think, the key question. Andrea, I know you chatted this to me, but I'll go ahead and bring it up anyway. Thank you, Andrea, for your comment around the challenges about quitting. How do I get to the next step? It's hard, smoking's my crutch. When I hear this from patients, I sort of ask, what seems feasible? Because I don't actually talk to patients about quitting smoking until I know that somebody's ready to talk about quitting. And for a lot of people, they're not there yet. They're not ready to talk about quitting. What they would like to talk about is, what are the things that would help? And I actually find great value in cutting down. Now, as I'm talking both sides of my mouth, I'm a huge believer in recovery and like abstinence, and like I think that can be vitally life-saving. It's just like 95% of people aren't there, right? So I have to have something for people that aren't ready for that. And the what's ready for that is meds can have to be cut down, counseling have to be cut down, but it takes time, thought, and intention. You know, what we know about tobacco use disorder, it's the hardest thing to quit. It takes like 8 quit attempts or 11 quit attempts, depending on the group you're looking at, in order to stay stopped. So people really have to learn. It's like an ongoing process to learn how to quit smoking. A couple questions. So Laura says, what about curriculum? So there's a lot of my material comes from motivationalinterviewing.org, which is not not specific to tobacco use disorder. It's just a general motivational interviewing. Sorry, it's hard for me to type and talk. So ASAM, the American Society of Addiction Medicine, huge conflict of interest, right? Because that's as somebody who's on the board, has a series of motivational interviewing courses, again, not specific to tobacco use disorder, but again, that's where I get most of my material, is the MINT, Motivational Interviewing Network of Trainers, and I've helped adapt a lot of that to ASAM. ASAM does have a guideline document. Document smoking. Here we go. On integrating tobacco use disorder interventions, it's called the Clinical Recommendations document. And I went ahead and put that in the link as well. But I actually think some of like the fundamental curriculum is at the UCSF Smoking Cessation Leadership Center. I think they've just they have held out like a hallmark, you know, set of curricula. And Tasha, I don't know if you're still signed in, but like, and the Kick-Ash manual, right? Kick-Ash is not a motivational interviewing based intervention. It's a cognitive behavioral therapy based intervention. So it's the thing that you do when someone's actually like, yes, I want to learn some skills and strategies. So I sort of think of like Kick-Ash is, as you've done motivational interviewing and somebody's ready to sort of learn some foundational concepts around like their smoke-free journey, that's what Kick-Ash comes in. It's not MI exactly. But between the MINT, the ASAM motivational interviewing course, the ASAM tobacco clinical care document, and the UCSF Smoking Cessation Leadership Center resources, Laura, is there anything else that you think you need?
Oh, hi. That's good. I used to do one in substance use treatment, and it was by Kaiser. And it was excellent. And I had lots of people quitting and making attempts. And I just wanted something that wasn't copyrighted,
Sure.
that I were using. That was a good curriculum.
It's you're welcome to use it.
So Kick-Ash, and how do I get to that?
Tasha, are you here? Or Brianna?
I am here. I am next in presenting, and I will present the entire curriculum in a very brief, short way. And then at the end, I will let you know how you can access it very shortly.
Thank
Tasha,
you.
Can I turn it over to you?
You sure can, actually.
All right. Hey, thanks everybody. Take care.
Thanks,
Oh,
Dr.
I'm going to put in my email address if anyone has any lingering questions, and shamelessly promote the upcoming addiction medicine meetings, which I'm absolutely having a conflict of interest around promoting. So yes, but there you go. I put it on the slides and now it's in the chat. All right. Thanks, Tasha. Good to see everybody.
Thanks, Dr. Hurley.
Yeah, of course.